All right, so I don't know if everyone's just taking the week off because it's Thanksgiving week, but it's a little light crowd today. We'll go ahead and get started. We have 2 new people on. So we'll kind of explain to you guys what we do here at this meeting. This Monday morning accountability meeting is essentially where we come together as a group. You're going to get about 30 seconds to 90 seconds, depends on how many people typically jump on here. Basically, you're telling us what you've got going on. You know, you're working with buyer leads, seller leads, or whatever you've got going on. You know, so if whatever you have listings, you're telling us what you have. If you have buyer leads that are looking for something particular, make sure you tell us what they're looking for. And then also, if you are struggling with anything in particular, you have a question about, either myself or one of the other agents will almost always be able to answer those questions for you. And this is just a place where we come together to move the ball forward and work together, hopefully, so you guys can do some deals together as a group. At the end of this, we do some sort of training typically. And then basically we take a quick break, and those that want to stay on for our insane productivity program we go through starts at around 10:15 or so. So we just go around the room and we just talk to everybody. So Jackie, you were in first, so you're up first.
Okay, so over the weekend or Friday, sometime in that time frame, I got a new seller/buyer. It's one of the guys that used to work for me. He sent me a message on Facebook saying, "Hey, I think we are outgrowing our house. Would we be able to utilize your services?" I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer. Of course you can. So we chatted a little bit over the weekend, and again, he's one that's not ready to do anything right now, so he's just looking at things. So we spent probably an hour on the phone talking about his house and his plans and what he wants to do. So what he's probably going to do is sell his house and then rent something temporarily so they can take his time looking for another house to buy, because he doesn't want to be pressured into selling the house and then having to buy something, especially the way the market is right now. So that's where I'm at with him. With my other buyers that are 6 to 12 months out.
Okay. So if he found the right house today, would he move or would he sell?
He would sell.
Okay. The reason I ask is, Salem, you just kind of went through this, and with your newer build house there in Tampa Heights, they found the house they wanted, right? And so like, I think the step there would be to just start them, getting them on the search for houses. Mm-hmm. And if they happen to find it, have the listing paperwork ready, almost with just no dates on it, maybe. Right. And then just, you're under contract, because we all know, ladies and gentlemen, you put it on the market. Salem, would you sell that house in like 3 days, 4 days on the market or something crazy? 4 days. Yeah. So like if you price it right and they're realistic in their price and they find the dream home, selling it's not the problem. It's finding it. So,
right.
I definitely work on finding that house to buy now and worry about the selling
later
in 30, 60 days.
Yeah, because he needs to sell the house to have the money to buy the next house.
Yeah, that's okay. And it's a contingency basically thing in the contract. It's a little harder to work around. But again, if I'm a selling agent and someone has a contingency offer, the offer is strong, we know that those houses typically are going to sell if you are doing your job and you price it right and you're not allowing your seller to control the price. I know. So just so you guys know, we are like heavily recruiting right now. I've got a new agent, lovely. I don't know if you saw his email come through, Brian. But another one lady is signing up this week. Her name is Patricia, and she took a listing because they're friends, right? And he overpriced the house by about $50K and was not relenting on it. And so long story short, as long as, it's been now sitting, it's going to sit at that point. But if you price it right, they're gone. Like they're just gone. And so that's how I would, if they're very serious, I would, it's like, let's get you on a buyer search. Let's find or on a house search and go from there.
Right. And he only paid 110 for his house. And when I
Ooh.
pulled comps, it's around 155 now.
Hmm.
And he owes around 80. So he's staying
Okay.
really good in the house he's at now.
Awesome.
So that will give me plenty of room to be able to price it right to
Okay.
negotiate because he's not
Good.
in a tight spot with the house,
Awesome.
which is good. And then
Yeah.
my other seller that's down in Venice that I wasn't kind of hearing from and wondering what the hell was going on with him, he finally called me coughing and hacking and he has COVID.
Shocking.
And that's why I had not heard from him in a few days. So he is still selling, he's still moving. He just now we need to get through COVID before we can list his house.
Wonderful. Never fails, right?
Right.
There's always something that happens in this business for sure. But that's why we're still dealing with leads that say they don't want to sell because they don't want people coming to their house because of COVID.
Right.
And that's the perfect example of why, you know?
Right. And I even have tenants to lease their house. I've got the same issue. Either they don't want people in their house because they have COVID, or I've got one that has COVID. So it's like I cannot show the house.
Yeah. I mean, the statistics on the outbreak itself here in Tampa Bay is not good. So I have a feeling that whether, you know, we may not have deaths and super sick people from it, but just the stigma of how many cases are going up might present a challenge to some of you with the showings of the houses, just for that reason alone, because people watch TV too much. You know, not saying it's not serious, obviously, but like you just gotta, it's just gonna be a bigger objection. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything I can help you with, Jackie?
No, those are my 2 updates for this week that I've got. Everything else is just still steady.
Cool. Good stuff. Salem, you're up.
Sweet. I had a new buyer client come up, and then I still have my current buyers that number one are looking in South Tampa. So I have 2 buyers looking in South Tampa, both around like the 500 range. They really want renovated. So I've been working alongside like the team, and then Dawn has a couple things that may be coming up in South Tampa for my buyers. And then I had a buyer, a listing and a buyer. They're wanting to upgrade, and they have a house in Seminole Heights. So I'll be listing their home, and then I'm working with Dawn on a house on Minnehaha for them to like customize that they would close like the first week of January. So another one of those kind of like listing and representing them buying. And then I'm actually working with 2 of the buyer lead program buyers that I need to like follow up with, but they're seriously looking in the next 2 weeks. And so they're on my house list. They're on everything. I've just been like kind of hounding them, calling them, texting them nonstop to get them closed.
Are they actually are they answering actually your texts?
Yeah.
Okay. And are they opening the email and looking in?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I know. I sweet talked them into it. And then I have my holiday house finally going on the market in 2 days. That was hell. And I'm under contract. What?
What are you listing for?
199.7.
Okay.
And then I have I'm closing on a South Tampa flip.
Okay.
I think that's all.
That's it?
I don't know.
That's awesome. 199.7 you said?
Yeah, it's a great rental property. I told Shannon about it. She had an investor that may want it, but I don't know if we can keep it as a buy and hold. It would actually cash flow very well as a buy and hold, because rental comps are like $1,000 to $1,200 a month. And if you did like an interest only financing, if you needed to finance it, it's a really great property, and everything's done except the roof. But the roof isn't like super old.
Okay. We can chat about that a little bit more later. Just curious more on that, because we had our conversation about that a couple months ago or whatever that was. So all right. So I just want to ask Salem's, of the majority of what you have going on, where are you getting your leads? Or besides obviously the buyer lead program?
Most of them were like in the works for quite some time. Like some of them were from my one right now where I'm representing buying and listing came from Lululemon when I used to work at
Okay.
Lululemon. And then from that listing, I converted 3 people from my open house I had. So all my buyers,
Wow.
3 people of the listing and the buying that I'm representing in Seminole Heights, that came from the open house. The 2 buyers in South Tampa, different buyers around the $500 price range came from that open house.
Wow. So you're telling me that open houses still work these days?
Open houses are great. If you do them right, I had like a great vibing playlist. I made it fun.
Okay.
They
That's
work.
awesome. They do work. I'm just making some notes.
And so I used the strategy that we talked about, where I listed it on Wednesday, and then I said, no, we'll accept, like, send in offers if you want to, but we won't be presenting them until at least after the first open house. And then at the open house, I was like, yeah, in this market, we just want to give fair market opportunity. We want everyone to be able to come into this home that wants to be here, and really give, because I feel like a lot of agents aren't giving that opportunity for all the buyers. And then they really loved like seeing that other side of the agent. And I think that's really like what gave me the leg up against the other agents. And they wanted to use me because they could see it was already like ethical and how I work for my clients.
But yeah, so that's a great segue into something completely different though. Guys, every real estate agent out there is looked at in the eyes of the consumer as the same thing. You guys do the exact same thing. It's just A plus B equals C. That's how people view real estate agents. That's why everyone hires, oh, my cousin does this, or my aunt is a realtor, and I'm just going to hire them. You guys have to find ways in a very competitive marketplace to separate yourself from the competition. It's called your unique selling proposition, USP for short. So what is that for you? What do you do differently than 99% of the agents out there? And by doing something like what Salem's talking about, separated herself from the other agents that those people, I guarantee, know, right? We all know an agent, right? I know we're in the business, but like our family, our friends all know multiple realtors. It's just, it's just the way it is right now. So by doing something different and telling, I'll get to that in a minute. Just showing the general public why you're a different real estate agent than your typical agent will literally put tens of thousands of dollars in your pocket every year. It's hard to figure out what that USP is sometimes, like Salem's got that, she did that, but she's also doing design work. Bill, I know you're flipping houses, so you can act as a buyer as well. Same with you, Salem. It's a couple others as well. If you're acting as a buyer, that's a whole different aspect that we're teaching here, obviously. But there's so many different things you can do. You could say, like, maybe I'm going to host 3 open houses before I accept anyone's offer, because like you said, whatever the unique selling proposition is to the seller or the buyer, what does that look like for you? It has to be authentic too. It can't just be a marketing gimmick. Like, gimmicks are great to drive traffic, but if you're not authentic in what you represent in that gimmick or that marketing piece, then that just went right out the window. If I was to go tell people that I am the most bubbly, lively personality realtor that you found, that would be a lie. It'd be a lie. I'm an aggressive, in your face, not in your face, but like, I'm to the point. I speak the truth. I'm not the bubbly, make you feel good type of person. I like, that you guys that have known me for a while probably will shake your head. Yes, probably agree with me on that. But that's the point of what I'm saying is you can't lie in your marketing or your unique selling proposition, because people will read right through that. They'll read through your bullshit. So I think that was a really great idea, Salem. So nice work. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
one more thing on that. I will give you another little like trick that I did too to get so the listing and the buying client in Seminole Heights. The reason why I converted them at that open house is because they were complaining about the lack of inventory, and I said, "Well, lucky for you, I work for Outfast Realty, and I'm an investor. Not only do I have a couple projects coming up, but I know of a whole team of people who have projects coming up exactly where you're looking for. So can I come present to your listing?" And there were 3 other agents that presented that day on their listing, and they chose me.
Telling you guys, like, there's power in what we're doing here, because this is what's going to keep the inventory moving, because we are creating our own inventory with this process. And so thank you for buying in, Salem, on that, because that is the whole ecosystem. That is why we designed our company the way we've designed it, is so that you guys can do this and be a recession proof agent. So, because it's going to change. All this is going to change if we go into a massive recession, depression, whatever the hell you want to call it. Again, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. So we'll see. But yeah, nice job, Salem. All right. I'm not sure if I'm going to say your name right. Is it Lataro? Lataro? I'm gonna unmute you real quick.
There we go.
Yes, sir.
Lautaro.
Okay,
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well,
you
welcome to the team.
can call me Cubas.
I was wondering.
I was doing sales for the last 30 something years.
Okay.
So people call me Cubas. It's easier, people relate to Cuba. I'm not Cuban, but I wish I was Cuban. But
Well, tell us a little about yourself, my friend.
Okay, I used to do real estate sales. I got my license in 2004, and I started selling timeshare back in Orlando, Westgate. So that was a very good training, learning selling techniques and all that, trying to sell timeshare stuff. And then I merged to regular real estate, and I was selling back in 2006 and 7, flipping and condo conversion. I was doing condo conversion when, all those condo conversion were going to sell to public. And then I went back to the IT industry, sales engineer. I worked for Tech Data here in Clearwater. And I went back to timeshare. I was a marketing manager, director manager in Puerto Rico, Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, Cancun, you name it, Mexico. So I did a lot of marketing sales, because I was training people how to sell the timeshare. And I want to go, now I'm in the point that I want to do my own business. So I would love to go back to, that's why I'm coming back to real estate. Okay. Cool. I was born in Washington, D.C. My father was a military diplomat, but I grew up in Brazil and Paraguay, so I speak Spanish and Portuguese.
Cool.
So I'm a fake gringo, as I And I'm very excited. I got through my friend Sandy. So we used to work for Sandy at Reptron Electronics, and then I convinced her to go to Tech Data. And I have good times at Tech Data. I was a senior sales associate. I was a top team for 3 years in a row at Tech Data. Tech Data is the largest company in Florida, as you know. And cool. It was a good time selling computer software and hardware. But I'm like I said, I'm very excited to come to the team. And Sandy told me good things about you and Jeremy.
Awesome.
And very excited to, I need to brush myself again and polish myself on time in real estate. So I'm ready to start kicking again.
Sounds good. Do you have anything going on right now, or are you just kind of like just getting started?
Nothing yet. I'm taking all those MLS classes and a lot of videos, looking your videos too. And I should be ready in a few days.
Awesome. All right. Glad to have you on the team. Excited to have you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Bill, you're up.
Hey guys, how's it going? Sorry I look a little rough. I just got back from a run, so like pretty bad. But anyways, I'm excited to be part of the team. I'm a real estate agent as well, but primarily I flip homes. That's like my main function. I have my license just to have MLS. But I did actually get a house under contract for a client on Saturday. It's a house in South Tampa for 470. So super
Nice.
pumped about that. Primarily get all my buyers or listings from referrals. I don't really do any marketing and stuff, sort of word of mouth. But as far as my flipping business goes, I'm partnering with Keely Toro on one deal. She's doing a design for me. That should
I
be
forgot about
completed
that.
next week. So that's going to hit the market hopefully the first week of December. It's in Bartlett Park in St. Pete. So if you guys have anybody looking for like a 3-2 close to downtown St. Pete, it's going to be around 240,000 hopefully. And then I have 2 in Port Richey right now. So those are in Bear Creek. They should be done hopefully the first week of January. So that's kind of my goal, to get those listed. And then as far as any problems right now, I just can't find deals. So if you guys have anything, I'm buying. I like to stay under 350,000 ARV. I'll pay more, but that's just kind of my sweet spot because I'd rather have multiple projects going on instead of just one.
Okay.
So excited to be part of the team.
Yeah, man. So you guys know I've been known Billy from TV Ria for years, and I've been trying to get him to come over here for about a year, maybe more. I'm not sure, but yeah. So I'll see you at 2:00 today at the office, right?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay.
This is great. Like, my old brokerage is cool, but I just like how you guys do a lot of team self-development stuff. Seems like we're all kind of in the same sort of channel as far as being multifaceted in the real estate space. So it's exciting to be around a bunch of people young and hungry like me looking to make some money. So I'm excited to be a part of the team, guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, hopefully we're going to fix that inventory issue. That's what we talked about, which we're going to talk a little bit about today too, because a lot of you guys didn't make it to the TV Ria main meeting, which is okay. But we're going to talk a little bit about what I talked about at that meeting, so you guys can get a quick broad stroke, because that was an hour-long presentation, maybe a little more. So I don't have an hour to teach you guys, but I'm going to just kind of go broad stroking over some of that stuff that I did go over at the TV Ria main meeting. All right, Michelle, you are up.
Good morning, everyone. Busy weekend, put 2 offers in. One was accepted yesterday, waiting for the investment company to make a decision on my second offer I submitted over the weekend. I still have my land listing in Corey Lake Isles, almost half an acre large, asking 175, backs up to,
Is it a pond?
it's a park. It's a,
Oh.
oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. It's a big old park right there. I'm drawing a blank, but conservation. Let's see. I had a past client of mine reach out to me. He wants to sell his condo in Grand Central. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. He's a project manager for EWC, I think. And he is planning to do some nice upgrades to the condo to make it the nicest one that's ever sold. He wants to sell that closer to March. And I'm thinking I should do a listing agreement and just do a MLS waiver. Has anyone, because he's like, listen, it's rented out by a friend of mine. I want to sell it at a better time in the market, which we're thinking will be in the spring. March through June. But he's like, if you want to try to get it sold before, let me know. I'd love to get it, under contract before. Would you recommend that route? Has anyone ever gone through a situation like that?
So you're talking about like taking the listing but not listing on the MLS period for now.
Yes. So I'm protected. So if I
Right.
if I'm out there trying to get a buyer for the property.
Yeah. So they can still list it with you, but elect not to put it in the listing agreement, not to put it on the MLS, not to put it on the web, on the internet and stuff like that. Am I correct in that? Right. There's a little box that they check for now. You could sign that listing agreement for now. And I would put that shit all over Facebook.
That's what I'd like to do. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean,
the best route. That way I'm protected in case I do find a buyer and he decides, you know what, my commission's going to change. I want it to be better.
Yeah, and I would focus putting it on your page only. I wouldn't necessarily throw it in some of your real estate agent groups, because then you got to give it another commission on the backside. But if you put it on yours and you have someone that's on it, that is part of your friends list, that is not represented, then you can double side it too. And I'm sure you guys saw what Bryce, posted in the chat yesterday about double siding that transaction and making sure that he had his thing. But that's obviously the main goal. It doesn't happen as often as we would like, but yeah, I would definitely just throw it on your Facebook stuff. And I wouldn't give too many details, because obviously you want to drive some traffic and some interest in it. That's what I would do.
Okay.
And then when it's time to actually list it on the MLS, then maybe just have them check the box and initial it, and then you should be good once it's time. If you don't sell it between now and then, right?
Right. I still have several buyer needs. One, New Tampa, 4-bedroom, 4 to 5 bathrooms, pool home. It's got to be 2-story. They're up looking around 450. Billy, I know you mentioned you're looking for properties. I have a friend of mine who's going through a divorce. It needs a complete redo. It needs to be renovated.
Don't tell Greg, but yeah, I'm down.
It's worth around 230 now, in my opinion, and ARV maybe around 335.
Okay.
I'd have to look at those. I pulled those comps like 2 months ago. So
Cool. Yeah, if you just want to shoot me the address and some pictures, that's kind of where I start, and I just kind of figure out what the value is, and I work backwards.
okay, he's a cop, so some of the info might not be online.
Okay, no worries.
Just a heads up. What else do I have? Greg, will you be able to come by my list?
I'm going to come by after I'm done having my meeting with Billy today at 2. Our meet from 2 to 3 ish. And then after that, I can swing over there because I'll be at the office.
Okay, so like 3:30 to 4:30.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Yep. Just text me the address so I can just swing by there on my way home, essentially.
Awesome.
Is your client okay with me not being like a licensed pool company anymore?
Yes.
Just kind of, okay.
So appreciative that you're willing to take the time out of your day to come by and look at it. We've just had a really awful experience with the pool inspection company.
Yeah, I understood.
Yeah.
That was always my struggle, is like finding anyone that was competent in my business back in the day.
So you'll be able to tell if the pool pump is in good condition,
Yep.
age.
Yeah, they have date codes on everything, just like an AC unit does typically. So I'll be able to tell you whether it's good, bad, ugly, and I'll be able to diagnose everything. It's like riding a bike for me.
Awesome. And then Salem, I know you said you're looking for a couple of homes in South Tampa around 500,000. I'm in a networking group that I get tons of, hey, I'm thinking about listing my home. Any moms have buyers. So if I come across any homes that meet the criteria for your buyers, I'm happy to send you the info. So there's actually tons of deals that are done before it even hits the market in the Moms of South Tampa group.
Nice.
Post.
All right. Anything else, Michelle?
No, that's it.
Cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Caitlin, you're up.
I finally made it into the office. Every single interstate is dead stop. I'm sorry. Let's see. Last week, I negotiated to keep my listing under contract. That was a whole mess in itself, but we are good. So now that and my townhome purchase that I worked with the buyers are both supposed to close on the same day in December. So I'm actually really excited about that. I don't really have anything else going on. I'm still kind of like, I feel like I haven't progressed in like getting more like stuff in the pipeline. I mean, I've got, some friends that are like, oh, well, at some point, and it's kind of like, okay, well, who's ready now kind of thing. And I did do that open house for Raphael this weekend. It sucked except for one gentleman who came in, literally one gentleman. First thing he said when I had my little sign up on the door, he goes, oh, great, this is my personal number, so I'm gonna get all kinds of phone calls. And I was like, nope, I promise I will not give you a gajillion phone calls and everything. So that didn't really like make me feel good about him and, you know, all of that. But he did like the home and everything. I will be checking in with him again and just seeing what he thinks. He, from what I understand, he is an investor himself. He just moved down here to Tampa. He was saying he wanted to house hack that house. So, I mean, it's a good house to house hack. It's just kind of getting all the stuff together. I did actually over the weekend as well. I finished after 8 months. I finished my broker exam course.
Nice.
Yeah, I have yet to still take the actual exam, the end of course exam for it, but I'm working on studying for that and making sure I have all the stuff so that I can immediately turn around and schedule my actual like state exam.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome.
But
So we're going to talk a little bit about your listing that you saved in my little training a little bit later. So if I forget to say it, Caitlin, we'll talk. Remind me.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Lindsay, you're up.
Hi. So I have a buyer in West Chase that's still looking under 400,000. So if anybody has anything coming up for that. I actually did Raphael's open house on Saturday and it was really good. So sorry, Caitlin, maybe all the good juju came to me. But the neighbor next door is actually looking to sell. It's a ground floor unit. The home does need work, so I'm trying to like groom him for a cash offer because yeah. I would say ARV is probably going to be by about 225, 230, the same as Raphael's. Same floor plan, 1,400 square feet. They have a nice little like covered patio too, but it does need like a full gutting. Like they've been smoking in the house. I'm like, we're probably not gonna be able to list this. Like the guy's mom is really, really old and they need to sell that because that's all the money that she has left. So it's fully paid off. They have a ton of revenue in it. So
Well, I want you guys to understand something too that I learned from Top of the World. Floor level units selling for 225 to 230, depending on how nice they're done. I have a second story that I can't sell for 125.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. One floor.
Yeah.
100 grand less.
Really great. And it's because it's a 55 and up community. And so those first floors, they sell like hotcakes.
Yep.
So yeah.
Luckily, we still bought ours right. We're not gonna, we're not losing money or anything. It's just taking a little longer to sell because they're just not in demand as much. It's just pretty crazy to me.
Yep.
But anyway, cool.
What else? I think I have a listing coming up in Wesley Chapel in the next couple months, probably get it going January, February. Looking at probably like 330, 340. It's a 4-2. So if anybody has any buyers in that area, yeah.
What's the price point?
It'll be under 350. We're thinking like 340. So
What neighborhood?
Good question. I don't know the neighborhoods. I have the address though. I can send it to you.
Okay, send it my way, please.
Yeah.
Cool. How's that going with Rob? How is that working out better?
Yeah,
Getting
it's really
closer?
good. So they just had a couple of credit cards that they had to pay down to boost their scores really quick, and they did that last week. So Rob sent that in. So we should probably have their full loan commitment, I'm hoping Friday, and then they can do their design center and all that stuff. So it should hit the fan early enough, which is good.
When do you anticipate closing for that then, if that all works out? Just roughly.
That's probably since it's brand new construction, it's probably not going to close until June. they said 6 to 8 months. On 8 months is usually where that lands. So
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you got?
I have a buyer looking in Orlando too, but I doubt anybody has anything. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Anything else I can help you with, Lindsay?
No, I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. All right, Heather, you're up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, yep.
So we had a couple showings over at On Top of the World. I haven't heard any feedback, so I'm going to reach out to them and see if we have any feedback or what's going on. But that's pretty much it. I just started working again on Thursday. As you know, like I took some time off, so back at it.
Okay.
So it's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else going on, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm anxious to see if we, it's that time of the year for the 55 plus community to start popping off, but
Yeah,
I
sure.
hate to do another price drop on that just to get it going back into searches, but I wonder what kind of activity we're going to have this week with it being Thanksgiving in general for all of you. I'm anxious to see, obviously Friday people will want a deal, so have tempted to put like on that damn condo Black Friday special. I don't know what to offer because I'm not dropping the price that much, but
No.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I would just leave it. We're still getting showings, so
Okay.
I would leave it. But I never heard back from that radio ad guy, the one that I was texting with you about on Saturday.
Yeah.
So the one I was trying to get on the phone. Yeah, I'm going to. I called yesterday and there was no answer, no way to leave a message. So.
Okay.
But we'll see. I'll keep you posted. Yeah.
Okay, let's make it notes. All right, so I think everyone's gone. So let's talk about what I talked about on Thursday a little bit. And then I want to talk to you guys about how you can leverage that. I'm going to share my screen here in just a second. Leverage that into your marketing. 1 second. So one thing's that the thing that was the presentation was about on Thursday, for those of you that did make it, was about how do you get in front of these potential sellers before your competition does. Because the old way of doing it was literally single dialing your neighborhood, trying to let them know you just sold a house or you're hosting an open house or whatever you're trying to do to generate some business. The old school, dialing ways, direct mail, which is completely dead at this point. If you're lucky to get, you should feel lucky if you get a 1% response rate on your direct mail marketing. And then, you've got, some of the other old school ways is obviously referrals, which I definitely want you guys to continue doing, obviously. But when you have a low inventory and your referral sources aren't passing you referrals and helping to build your pipeline that way, because obviously we know referrals are the greatest marketing strategy there is. There's not a question in my mind. You will never change my mind on that either. I don't care what business you're in, but real estate especially, because when you get a referral, it's a done deal, right? Well, when you got to continue to build your pipeline to keep putting food on the table, you have to be active in your own marketing and follow up. So one thing that is completely and totally critical to the entire process here is one, getting in front of the clients before your competition, and then two, following up with them forever. So one of the things that we've been doing to do that, and why you guys can do the same thing, is that essentially we've been just going directly to them via text messaging. Like directly to them, speaking their language, talking to them as if we knew who they were, if you will. So I'm going to pull this up over here and explain to you guys again. If you're getting a 1% response on your marketing, you're doing something really, really well with, especially with direct mail. So you guys can see this right here. We sent in the last 3 months almost 25,000 text messages with 55 different campaigns because, well, let me explain the campaigns for a second. The campaigns are basically every time we've sent a blast, it's considered a campaign. So even though there's only a specific, only maybe like 10 to 15 different marketing or lists that we're going after, it still runs a campaign. So let me give you an example. So if we send the first text message and we don't get a bunch of responses from it, we basically then pull out the ones that did not respond to us. And then we send them another blast saying, hey, did you get my message before? Just redoing it like that. And then what you guys make sure you do is talk about that you're not going after their listing. They're going after their, you have a buyer or you are a buyer yourself. So you can see we sent 20,000 of them. So we've received about 5,000 replies and also then replying back to them. 93% delivery rate. What that means is that 94% of the people we sent a text message to actually received it. The only reason we didn't get higher than that was because the call got blocked, or since the text got blocked by the carrier, because maybe our number was flagged for spam or whatever. But here's the big number, 22.3% response rate. That means that people responded saying either take me off your list, they said, yes, I'm interested. And you can see down here, these are all the people that it's in some way, shape, or form have said that they are interested. Okay. These people are basically not very interested at all. They might just be, they're pretty much saying us, well, make us an offer, without even like going through the process. So Melody just marks them as low. But like we're going directly to the source of the potential deal here and not having to wait on direct mail or wait on some other form of marketing for the leads to just start trickling in. We're getting a direct yes or no. Most of it is the first time they're getting that text message. And so one of the best things that I'm going to teach in my masterclass for this, once we really perfect this, is that the second text message is actually where you get the most responses. When you say, hey, Jim, it's Greg again over at OutFast. I was just wondering if you got my postcard about buying your house. And you're like, well, you didn't send a postcard. Well, like I said at the meeting, people are still sending a shit ton of direct mail that doesn't work. So they don't know that it wasn't you that wasn't your mail piece. You know what I'm saying? So like you use that just because all you guys got to understand about marketing to them via text message is to get a conversation started. That's the whole thing. Get a conversation started and then take it from there with your pitch, right? You're setting expectations of how the process would go, asking the impact questions of the property itself, their situation, blah, 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 and then paint the picture, right? But the idea here is that, gosh, almost 23% response rate is just insane. Just insane. So of those 2,000 or 20,000, that's just, we have people telling us that they're interested or not right out of the gate. And I can't stress that enough, everybody. So like going directly to the seller is going to at least get you guys some in your pipeline. And then it's there from there to take it to follow up with them forever. And so like what's cool about the Smarter Contact that we use, it also acts a little bit as a CRM because it has that high, low, medium nurturing. So you can go back and look at all of your mediums, your highs, and keep texting conversations with them. You prioritize them, keeping the conversations moving, right? And then you can go back to the lower ones when you have some downtime to hit them with another text message blast, because you can segment this all out, right? And so once they've told us that once it reaches high, it then goes into our InvestorFuse CRM, whichever CRM you guys use. I don't care if it's Follow Up Boss, if you're using LionDesk, doesn't matter. But you're putting them in that thing because then you're continuing the conversation of making them an offer. Oh, the offer doesn't work for whatever your buyers are looking for, or you personally. Well, then you flip the switch and you say, well, I'm a real estate agent. I could help you get to that price, or I could help you get that, whatever you want to do. And so how we're operating with this, so you guys know, is basically myself and Antoine are working on making the offer 5 times on cash or creative, depending on the person's situation. Because if it's a pretty house, but they want out, I'm not offering them cash unless they're willing to take a huge discount, right? I'm making them creative financing offers, lease options, owner financing, that whatever their situation is, we're doing. But we're making them offers 5 times before we even go, well, you know what? I know that doesn't work for you, but I own a real estate brokerage. I have a lot of amazing agents on my team. And then Antoine and I will then pass them off to you guys for a referral fee, essentially. Standard 25%, you know, as a referral fee. But at that point, that basically we know they are legitimately ready to sell, right? And then, but our goal is obviously, me as an investor, is to buy the properties one way or the other. You know, I don't want to have to pass it off to you guys, but that's the beauty of it, is of those 42 highs, I would say most of them are going to end up being listings versus cash offers, you know? So it's just up to me and Antoine to keep nurturing those people to make a decision. Okay. So the second aspect of that is the cold calling aspect. Obviously, a lot of these people that we're getting their phone numbers from don't have mobile, or if they do, they're not answering the texts. So basically what we do is we take all the landlines from that campaign, export that, and then upload it into Call Tools, which is the dialer that we use, because you can do up to 10 lines at one time, 10 phone calls per segment. So like you hit the play button on it and it starts dialing 10 people at a time. It's amazing. So you're going to crush your list in hours instead of days, right? If you have a list of 500 people on your thing, that's going to take you literally days. If you were to single dial, even a triple line dialer takes you forever. But you're talking about going through that list in an hour, couple hours, right? So we're hitting them. We'll have the landlines only that way. But then also we're going into the smarter contact and we're scraping out. Lovely basically takes out the ones that have not responded to the text messages. I think we're doing like 3 blasts before we pull it out. Then we pull that out. They haven't responded. So now we're going to hit them with cold calls via phone, cell phone and their landlines, because we typically get both, right? Now, granted, we're getting a lot of bad numbers too. So that's the caveat, right? You're not going to get 100% accurate numbers. That's just, people change numbers like all the time these days still. So that's just one way to get your pipeline going, to fill the gaps, if you will. But one I think I need you guys to really understand is the follow-up. You can get them in your CRM all day long. Like, the leads are there. You'll get them. They'll tell you yay or no, yes or no. But it's your job to follow up with them potentially 30 or 40 times before they make a decision. You know, Matt Krieger, we were chatting a little while ago, I think someone at the meeting, Heather's boyfriend Travis, was saying that they had to follow up with these sellers for over a year. And that's just part of the game. That's the same thing with buyers. Buyers are liars. They tell you they're ready now and they're not ready till for 6 months or whatever. But if you're not the one following up with them, you're not going to be the one that gets the deal, because you have to prove to these people, again, unique selling proposition. I follow up with my sellers and my clients till they decide to work with me or they die. I know it's a joke, but it's somewhat serious. And you have to have that mentality with your leads, with our leads, whichever leads you're getting, you have to follow up with them and you have to be relentless with it. You cannot just, text them once every couple of weeks. No, you need to be texting almost every day. Not really, you know what I'm saying though? Like, you need to be texting them or calling them once a week. You know, just checking in. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. You know, you got to be in sales, you know, and have that mentality. And because if they're not serious, guys, they're going to tell you eventually that they're just not serious and to leave them alone. Right. But I'd rather know sooner rather than later if they're serious about buying or selling a house. And that's why I do love the text messaging, because if they tell me, nope, not selling my house, great, then you're off my list. I don't have to keep sending direct mail for them for 6 months before they say, take me off your damn list, or they just never respond. So they just keep getting marketing, keep getting it. And then you exhausted yourself and you've spent a shit ton of money to not have any answers. That just doesn't work for me. I don't have the patience for that, nor do I have the budget to send 10,000 pieces of direct mail every single month and continue to do it. Because every time you're pulling, if you do 10,000, if you start off with that, guys, the next month you're at 12,000. Then the next month after that, you're at 14,000, and then 17,000, and then 20,000. And it stacks and stacks and stacks, right? If you're not getting responses, you're literally just bleeding money every single month and you're not getting answers. You might get a few leads here and there, But unless you're closing $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 wholesale fees or buying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 flips out of that all the time, you'll go broke marketing. So I like personally just going directly to them. Hey, I'm a cash buyer. I'd like to buy your house. Again, we can go over the messaging later. But I want you guys to also fill your pipeline via social media. So I'm going to use Caitlin. I'm going to use Michelle, and I'm going to use Lindsay because I know some of these stories, right? So Caitlin is saving her listing, right? You have a hell of a story to tell when that listing closes. So it's your job to not take a picture at the closing table with your seller going, sold, I made a nice fat commission check. That is not the goal of your social media. Your goal is to tell the people the story of the shit that you had to go through to get that house and that deal to the closing table. Show people how dedicated you are to your clients to make sure that they understand that it's not about the commission. That is obviously how you feed yourself and your family. I get it. Everyone gets it. You're in sales, but tell the story of how you did it and how you will do the same. You know?
I do have a question on that though.
Sure.
So say I talk about this whole mess that I had this past week. I can talk about that one like right when it sells, like that day or whatever. But I could also go back technically and I could maybe like the next week or the week after be like, look, I helped these sellers. I mean, the whole, like a whole nother kind of like issue that came, you know, that was like, cause they were out of town the whole time and, you know, and I helped them with this and I could kind of turn it into a couple different stories,
You
right?
can turn it into a series, if you will. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys have to, again, be creative in how you tell the story. If you'd like a good book on how to tell stories, I could give you a book called Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, the guy that invented ClickFunnels. Probably will teach you how to be the best storyteller of all time.
Okay. I guess I have a lot of book reading to do this week.
That's why I read a lot of books, everybody. But no, it's a great book on telling stories and showing people how to do it. But yeah, so, and the thing is like, so I'm going to keep going with this, right? So Lindsay, you had this deal where you had a really bad experience with a lender freaking out that they were going to have to make your buyer jump through a billion hoops to make something happen, right? Well, you could tell the story of how you did this, right? But you could also use the story to help me out in my recruiting. Okay. Hey, I had a problem with a lender, and I called my brokerage, and you know, they hooked me up with an even better a lender that was able to really help us get past the finish line. I'm really thankful I joined this group. You guys can, you know, I need some help too, guys. You know, I need more agents, right? I need your help. I hope that we've instilled enough trust in you guys that we're here to help you. But you could use that to help us recruit, because again, you guys get benefits from recruiting agents too. But at the same time, you tell the story of how it went completely to shit, you know, freaking out, think you're going to lose the deal. And then, you know, I hooked you up with the right lender who is now going to get you across the finish line and be able to help your client buy, right? You kill two birds with one stone with that, right? And then who else was I going to pick on for this one?
Michelle.
Yeah, the whole pool situation, right? You know, anytime you guys have some major objections, you guys should be journaling it, writing it down, major struggles. I tell them, some of you are doing a really good job on your stories. I will say we had to beat out X amount of offers to get my buyer's offer accepted, right? I will do, you know, you're doing a really good job with Michelle. I got to give you credit. Like you're saying, like I had to do all these things to make sure that I got my buyers what they needed, how they needed, and I had to compete against several different agents that had other buyers, you know, whatever you want to tell the story, but tell the story, but get out from behind the camera and tell it yourself. I'm not picking on you, Michelle. I'm picking on all of you, right? You've got to tell the story, but here's an even more powerful one. If you don't want to be behind the camera yourself, flip it and get your seller or your buyer to give you that testimonial too. Having a picture of you at the closing table does not allow them to tell the story either. Video testimonials, you guys can put that everywhere. You put that shit on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your own personal website if you have one, on YouTube, wherever, everywhere. That should go everywhere, because you never know where someone's looking for your testimonials too, right? And I know you can't do that on Zillow, Like you can put a video testimonial on Zillow, but you can, get their testimonials other ways, right? But tell the story. There's a reason that Instagram calls it stories. Tell the story of the situation. And then if you don't feel comfortable, have your seller or your buyer tell the story for you. And that's just paramount. Like that's how you use social media to actually grow your pipeline of people, because people, I've said this to you guys forever, people do business with who they know, like, and trust. And if you can build that level of trust without actually knowing that person, because holy shit, I can't believe they had to do all of these things to get it to the closing table, right? And man, Michelle, she just really killed it for that client. And it's not, again, you can toot your own horn on Facebook and Instagram all the time, but if you have your client toot the horn for you, done and done. So like, I mean, I've signed up so many sponsors from TB Read, because on our sponsors page, I have like 5 or 6 sponsors that gave testimonials. You just have to ask. And you know what? I've never had someone say, oh no, I'm not giving you a testimonial on video. They all do it. They're happy to do it. I swear they are. Hopefully you had a good experience before you ask them to give you the testimonial on video. And here's the thing with testimonials too, you need to guide people. You can't just say, hey, tell me what you thought about the transaction. They'll freeze and they don't know what to say. So just talk about a little bit, why you hired me, what the experience you were with me, experience of the house, what any struggles that we went through that I helped you with, whatever stress I helped you overcome, whatever. You have to guide them through that testimonial process. It's just, they're going to get lost and they'll literally freak out if you don't guide them through it. So you can give some bullet points. You can literally hand them a piece of paper that says, here's the bullet points you should talk about, or you could talk about, or you just do what I just did and say, here's what you can say in the video testimonial. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this really helps me get new business too. You have to explain, what's in it for me, what's in it for them. And it just really, because people like to help you too. If you did help them with a really shitty situation and you helped them still get through to the closing table, like they're going to appreciate that and want to give you props and tell the story too. Does this make sense, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally.
But yeah, Caitlin, I know you've been struggling with this one. So, you could really use something like that to really, help your own personal brand as a realtor, as someone who goes way above and beyond, it knows how to save deals, and stuff like that. So, and you all can use this. I know, Salem, you've had to go through some shit too lately, and yeah, I mean, use it to your advantage.
So should we ask for the video testimonial or whatever, like
at the closing table?
At closing. Okay.
Hell yeah. That's the one that, if they're selling the house, they're getting paid, they're excited. They're the most excited they're ever going to be when they actually get that, sign that paperwork that says that they're getting their check, right? Or they're getting their wire, whatever, right? They're never going to be more happy than at that point. Right. So all these agents like, oh, I don't like going to closings anymore. You're an idiot. Sorry. You have to go to your closings if you want to get that story told. Like, they're not going to tell that story if you like just say, hey, title company, hold up your phone and just text it to me, right? No, it's not going to work that way. You got to go, you got to, shake hands and kiss babies. And that's what you're doing. You're playing the politician at that point. You're, trying to get them to do what you need them to do, right? So you're telling them, hey, what did you think? How did your experience go? But that's the happiest thing. Same with the buyers. Either you take it at the closing table, or if you're lucky enough to be able to get them at the closing table and then taking them to the house that they just bought and stand in front of it and give a testimony with the keys in their hands. That's the second, I would say that's really the best place for the buyers, is at the house, if you can arrange that. But the closing table also works too.
Now, if we go back to our past clients, like, how do we phrase that? Just like, hey, because I had like past clients that I worked in March, which they were fantastic about giving me reviews on like Zillow and Facebook and Google and everywhere. I guess that's the phrasing of like, oh, hey, can you go back and give me a video testimonial now? Like, that you've been in the house for a while? Like, is that the way to go?
Yeah, I would just call them. I would call them up and say, hey, I'm looking at adding some video testimonials to my website. I know we had a great experience working together. Would it be okay if I just came by one evening or one afternoon and just got a 30-second video from you explaining the process from you. And all you have to do is just, I'll give you a little bullet points of everything you want. And I can guarantee you they'll say absolutely.
Okay.
I promise you, if they had a good experience, they will be willing and able to do that.
All right, cool.
Tell them, if you can tell them you're trying to build your business and building your presence on your website and helping grow your company or your own business, and they'll be happy to do it.
Okay.
You guys have any other questions about that? But I mean, that's it. That's the magic sauce, guys. Get direct to your sellers. And then, okay, well, I was going to say, use the stories of the examples of the things that you're telling the stories in your stories of as your credibility once you are actually talking to those sellers you have texted. Because the idea is not to close them via text. The idea is to get them on the phone, right? And that's how I close them. I get them from a text. Hey, great, let's jump on a call real quick. Do you have a few minutes to talk about the house or the situation? Yes, I do. Great. Tell me, and I set the stage. Well, here's how it's going to go, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Blah, 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 blah. So let me tell you a little bit about me, right? I want to know their story first. I'm going to tell them about me. Well, I just closed a deal recently in the neighborhood that I had to jump through a billion hoops. I had to do this XYZ thing. And, to prove to you that I'm a legitimate buyer, you guys can go look me up on the public appraisers or public property appraiser site. You can see my entity is Outfast Investments LLC. You can see I've got lots of properties at all times in Pinellas and Hillsborough County that we're renovating or we own as rental properties. So it gives that instant credibility. You can go to my website at outfastrealty.com and you can see all the agents that I have that work for me and that we're doing cool things. You see all of our listings, like you can see my bio, all that stuff, right? You go to my LinkedIn, whatever you want to say is your credibility. And then you're showing them that you are a legitimate real estate agent, a legitimate investor, because 99% of wholesalers out there are not doing that. 99% of agents, I would say 99% of agents, maybe 90% of agents are not doing a good job of having credibility online. Look at a lot of people. Go to someone you think is a top producer, and I bet you money they probably don't even have a lot of reviews on their website or on Google or on Facebook or even on Zillow. I've seen a lot of agents that are really top dogs that don't have any reviews on Zillow. It's bizarre. It's crazy. There's now a lot of the good ones do also have them on Zillow, but you'd be surprised how many don't. But yeah, use that story in your pitch to why they should work with you, right? And you have to build that credibility. When you guys are going on listing appointments, you should have your statistics in your listing presentation. I don't do listing presentations. I don't know how you guys do your things, but I would be like, hey, I listed this property here. For 225, we got 225 exactly 100%. We closed this many days to market with a beautiful picture of the outside of the house. And you have multiple of those in your listing agreements. It's your credibility package, right? That you're handing them you can even send that ahead of time. Hey, by the way, so that way when you walk in the door, you're building that level of comfort with them, right? There's so many things we could do to show you how to build that credibility before you even get on that listing appointment. Any other questions you guys have? Because we're about ready for a break, and then Insane Productivity if you want to join. No? Good? Yeah? Awesome. All right. I'll see some of you at 10:15 for Insane Productivity. If not, I'll see the rest of you guys later, and have a happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you guys. But we'll catch up with you guys on Monday. Here we go, everybody.
Hello and welcome to the second half of your journey through the Insane Productivity Training System. I'm proud of you for reaching the midway point. With all that you've accumulated and treasured thus far, I know there is no way to stop you now. Stay the course. The finish line has rich rewards. So how you feeling? Feels great to give up, right? To free yourself, to liberate your strengths. The burdens of trying to do it all, trying to be great at all of it, can make you feel like Gulliver, bound by innumerable tiny little threads, held by tiny captures. Once you can unburden yourself from that hostage situation, you can finally realize and utilize the awesome power of your strengths and your superpowers on what really matters. Your goals for your family, for your future, and the legacy that you want to build. This should feel particularly urgent for you now that you truly understand how valuable you are, not just as a brother or as a sister or as a friend or a child of God, but to the marketplace, the value exchange you should now insist from yourself on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour basis. To do otherwise, as Tony Bennett said, is a sin against your talent. Or as Conrad said in the previous module, you can use your life and talents to do little things or big things. And to those who have been given much, to apply it to little things is a sin against your Creator. You weren't born to live small. You were designed for greatness. Your true talents and capabilities are like Gulliver and Lilliput. You can do far more than your background or your past experiences and self-doubt fears of your mind, those that have convinced you otherwise. Now, I'm trying to level up your expectation of yourself because we're about to enter a very important module. This begins the most vital aspect of the Success Vital System. Given your business, your job, your goals, this is where we discover where exactly you should be applying your great superpowers. Just like you wouldn't ask the Hulk to fly or lead anger management courses, or the Wolverine to do underwater construction, or Aquaman to work in Arizona. No, that goes against their unique strengths. Just like each of them, you too have superhero type strengths. We just need to identify them, relevant towards the business and job and goals that you have. This is the module where we will discover what your superpowers are and where we need to apply them on your leverage curve so we can get you the insane results you deserve. Insanely fast, Flash Gordon fast. And of course, because you have freed yourself from the innumerable little threads of burden by giving up all those things that weren't getting you what you really wanted, you can do all of this sanely. Okay. Let's jump into Module 7 of your Insane Productivity Training System by retaking our seats on the front row of the Insane Live Workshop now.
So let's talk about your vital functions. We're under the Success Vitals now, and the first vital is your vital functions, okay? This is what you do to make the ultimate difference. This is those things that you want to become world-class at. These are the reasons why you get paid the big bucks. This is what you do to make it rain, to make the cash register ring. Let me explain. America's doctor, Dr. Oz, an incredible human being. Love this guy. When I met him, he already had a 5-day Emmy Award-winning television show, and he was still performing 200 open heart surgeries a year. Imagine that. He had a line of best-selling books, 2 nonprofit organizations that were flourishing. And yet, when you're with him, the guy is as calm as a cucumber, totally present, totally in it with you. And I remember asking him, Mehmet, how are you doing this? How are you pulling all this off? You're doing like 10 times what I'm doing, 100 times what I'm doing. And I'm ragged, and yet here you are so peaceful in the moment. He said, I learned a long time ago that there are only a few vital functions that you need to be great at anything. He says, take open heart surgery, for instance. He says, there's hundreds of little procedures that are done to perform a successful heart surgery. He says, but I don't perform the 100 functions. I don't prepare the room. I don't clean the instruments. I don't even open up the body cavity. He says, before I enter the room, hundreds of little procedures have been done before I even enter. When it's time for the few vital functions, he says, there's a few vital functions in heart surgery. And these are the live or die functions. Patient lives or dies. He says, I've got to be ready, prepared, and the best in the world in that moment at those few functions. I walk in the room, perform those few functions, and then I leave the room and leave the rest to a capable team. He says the same thing with an Emmy Award-winning television show. He says, I'm not trying to do everything. He said, I'm not selling the advertising. I'm not adjusting the lights for the stage. He says, there's a few vital functions that I have to be ready, prepared, and on point with. And so when it's time, I show up, I deliver those to world-class standards, and then I leave the rest to a capable team. Same is true for running a nonprofit organization. The same is true for you. There are only a few vital functions that when you do them, you make it rain. That's where you have leverage. That's the leverage, the right side of the leverage curve are where your few vital functions are. I learned this when I was in real estate. For those of you that are familiar with real estate, there are 5,000 things that you can confuse yourself with being productive, right? You could go check on sign installation, attend the escrow closing, put on the lockbox, go to the home inspection, research properties on the MLS, design the flyer, drop off flyers at the property, take photos of the listings, meet with the selling agent, check on the septic tank history, all these things where you're running around crazy, busy all damn day, right? I realized early on that there are only 3 things that I needed to do to make it rain. And that was number 1, pitching a listing, number 2, negotiating a contract, number 3, prospecting. And I became so focused on just isolating my time to do just those 3 things that I actually bought a stopwatch that I wore around my neck all day. As I went to the grocery store, the gas station, around my office, I wore this stopwatch, tracking the amount of time that I was doing one of those 3 things. And so the first day that I did this, I just wanted to set the bar super high. I just want to have a crushing day, set the number high so that I would have to work like mad every day thereafter to meet the number. So I put in like a 14, 16-hour day. I'm prospecting, knock, knock, knock. Door opens, turn it on. Talk, 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 talk. Door closes, turn it off. Down the driveway, up the driveway, knock, knock, knock. Door opens, turn it on. Door closes, turn it off, right? Go back to the office, prospect, ring, ring, ring. Phone answers, turn it on. Phone down, turn it off. So it's like 11:30 at night, and I'm ready for the big reveal. I wouldn't allow myself to see the time aggregate all the way through the day. So I finally turn it over for the big reveal. Guess how much time I was able to log that first day? 19 minutes and 54 seconds. Even though I logged a 14, 16-hour day, I'd done less than 20 minutes of anything that mattered. Then when I realized that, I just became obsessive about raising that number. To go from 20 minutes to 40 minutes was a Herculean effort. The first time I got it up over an hour, I threw an office-wide party to celebrate. In my 4-year real estate career, I think I got it up over 4 hours, maybe a dozen times. Which means what? I worked a half day a dozen times in 4 years. Here's the thing I want to promise you. You figure out what your few vital functions are and track the amount of time you're actually engaged in that function, and you will be shocked how little you're actually working. Now, I know you're at the office. I know that you're running around. I know that you're rushing. I know that you're putting out fires and the rest of it. But trust me, you figure out what your few vital functions are and you track them, you will see how little you're actually doing anything that matters. Increase that number, nobody can catch you. Even when I was publisher of Success Magazine, I did not do the traditional roles that a publisher did. We found out quickly that my few vital functions, the things that contributed to the success of that overall enterprise, were these 3 things: speaking on stage on national, international conferences and enrolling people into our community, writing, creating content, publishers' letters, creating the scripts for the CDs, and interviewing. Those are my 3 vital functions. Very different than what most people would suspect. Getting advertising, being in editorial meetings, and the rest of that. Even today, in the training company that we have, training CEOs and business leaders all over the world, these are my 3 vital functions right now: writing, speaking, and marketing. Those are my 3 vital functions. And I track the amount of time I'm doing any one of those three things. And my goal, the only thing I have to focus on is increasing the amount of time I'm doing those few things without having to do everything else around it. What are your few vital functions? I'm telling you, those are the few boxes on that grid that we're looking for. Those are those few things on the right side of the leverage curve for you that we're looking for. What are the few things you do to make it rain? Why do they pay you the big bucks? What do you do to make the cash register ring? So what's better than finding a few functions to focus on? What's even better than a few? One, right? If you can go to the far right of that leverage curve, let me show you a guy who went to the far right of that leverage curve. Joel Osteen. Now, a lot of you know him as a Christian televangelist and so forth. I don't see him as that. I see him as the CEO of a several $100 million organization, which is what it is. And I remember spending time with he and his wife at their home in Houston. And he and I are kind of in the same business, right? We're both trying to inspire hope and inspiration, see people, see a bigger version of people's selves so they can go out and do great things in the world. And I remember thinking, man, this guy is doing way more than I am. And so I asked him, I'm like, Joel, how are you pulling this all off? And he said to me this, he says, you know, when I first took over the congregation from my father, he says, I was trying to do it all. He says, I was doing weddings and baptisms and funerals and so forth, and I was editing the brochure that we'd hand out on Sunday, and I was adjusting the lights on the stage. And he said, we stalled as an organization. We couldn't grow any further. We couldn't grow any further than my calendar could stretch. I realized that I was the constraint. I was the bottleneck. I was the problem to our entire organization. He said, so I had to remove myself from everything and then ask myself this one question. What is the one activity that has the highest impact to our overall success as an organization? What's one thing that I do, the most important thing that I do that contributes to the success of everything we do? And he said, you know, I figured out it was those 22 minutes on Sunday. If those 22 minutes are inspiring, hopeful, funny, engaging, empowering, it drives the whole rest of the engine. He said, so I remove myself from everything, and the only thing I do is work on those 22 minutes all week. This is literally his schedule. Wednesday, he goes into his basement. You can't reach him. His family can't reach him. And all he does down there is listen to audio programs, read, and journal, just thinking about what he might want to talk about on Sunday. The whole day, he's just nurturing his mind. Thursday, he writes down his sermon word for word. The whole day, he's doing nothing but crafting his sermon. Friday, can't reach him. Can't interview him on Friday. No meetings whatsoever. The only thing he does on Friday is memorize those 22 minutes. Saturday, he performs his sermon twice to a closed caption audience in his congregation. And then Sunday, lights, camera, stage, action. And the guy's magic. Have you ever seen him? I call him one of the best keynote speakers alive today. Why? Because most keynote speakers have one stump speech, and they spend their whole career just giving the same speech. This guy's got to give 22 brand new keynotes every year. And he's brilliant at it. How can you become so good as he has become? Well, if it's the only damn thing you do, you can become that good. What is the one thing that if that's all you did could contribute to the success of your organization to that level? Because he reaches 40 million people. If the goal is impact, if the goal is influence, he's reaching 40 million people every single week. That's identifying your one highest impact point. Now you're saying to me, yeah, sure, but how? How can you only do one thing? How can you possibly just get to the point where all you're doing is that one thing and you're not being pulled on by all these other obligations? Here's how. You have to create a 3D plan. You might not start there, but I'm going to show you how to get there, okay? Here's your 3D plan. First thing you need to do is you need to delete most of the things that you're doing. Just like Peter Drucker said, there's nothing more useless as doing efficiently that which you should not be doing at all. So the first D is to delete a lot of the things that you're doing. It's useless. It's just draining you, and it's not producing any results. It's low output, low result, low consequence activities. That's number one. Number two is to delegate. There's a piece of that leverage curve that still has to get done. I mean, it's part of the overall thing. It still has to get done, but you can delegate it to somebody else. And then you ask yourself the question, yeah, but the whole delegation thing starts screwing with people. Yeah, but you have a hard time delegating? Here's what you might suffer from. The big problem of high achievers is this: you are too good at too many things. And so you have trouble delegating. Get over it. It's costing you in big ways. Let me put it to you this way. Are you an egotistical, arrogant narcissist? I ask you this question sincerely from my heart. Are you an egotistical, arrogant narcissist? You are if you can't delegate. Because, see, delegation requires humility, a recognition that you are not the only competent person in your organization or in your family. This is one of the things that I struggle to try to articulate to people, train people about why and how they need to start giving up some of these things so they can spend more time on the right side of the leverage curve. Now you're probably saying, yeah, but I'm too busy to stop to delegate. How many people heard that excuse? I'm too busy to stop, to take the time to hire somebody, to delegate somebody else to do that, okay? Let me show you how ridiculous this is, okay? That's like saying, I'm too busy mopping the floor to turn off the faucet. Here's what you want to do. Discover your strength, even if your strength is being really, really ridiculously good looking. As my friend Mark Sparks, this is his blue steel pose. Discover your strength and outsource everything else to somebody else's strength, okay? Figure out what that superpower is, that thing you were designed to come here to do, to contribute, that thing you are great at, better than anybody else. You line up 20 people shoulder to shoulder, this is the one thing you can do better than anybody else. And the problem is a lot of people don't understand it because it comes so naturally to you, you don't think it's that terrific. But you ask somebody else, it's like, no, this comes natural to you. You need to double down on that strength. Hire specialists to do everything else. Lawyers should not fix computers. Nurses should not order supplies. Pilots should not make passenger reservations. The more specialized help that you can get, the more streamlined your work can be. You cannot have any weaknesses and have a strong business. This is Richard Branson. You want to talk about one of the keys to his great success? This is it. From a very young age, he said, I had to learn the art of delegation. I delegated the areas I struggled with to people who believed in the project. This freed up my time to focus on what I was good at and then do more projects. How do you have 400 companies? When you get really good at delegating. Delegate every necessary function below your hourly rate. If you're wondering what you delegate, look at the leverage curve again. Everything that's below your hourly rate needs to become delegated. Remember, everything you do costs you money. Everything. Even if it's easy, fast, and simple. If you do it, it costs you money. Yeah, but, you say, I can't afford to hire anybody. I'm not in a position yet to hire anybody. Okay, here's what we need to do. You need to start becoming a quitter. I learned this from Ken Fisher. Ken Fisher runs a $50 billion financial firm. He's on the Forbes 400. We interviewed him for Success. And one of the questions I asked him, he started talking about delegation. I said, how can you help people learn how to delegate? And he said, you know what? When you first start out, you are going to have to do everything. You're going to have to do the sales and marketing. You're going to have to do the accounting. You're going to have to do the customer service. And you're going to have to take out the trash. You're going to have to do it all. He said, but what you really want to do is you want to get enough sales and marketing going so that you could start quitting. Quit taking out the trash. Hire somebody to take out the trash. Get more sales and marketing going. Quit doing the customer service. Get more sales and marketing going. Quit doing the accounting. Eventually, you can create a sales and marketing machine where you can quit doing the sales and marketing. Now your job as the CEO is just to look over the horizon. Make sure you have a culture of high-performing people. Get the best people on the bus and just worry about strategy. But in the beginning, you might have to do it all. But the key for all of you, no matter where you are, if you're just starting out, sole proprietor, start quitting as fast as possible. And it all comes from getting some sales and marketing. Get that cash flow going. Get the cash flow going enough, start quitting. Start quitting those low value activities so that you could focus more on the high value activities. Sell your way out of every job. That's why sales is the lifeblood of the business. You want to find people who play at the things that you work at. I'm always amazed that somebody loves everything. No matter what, somebody loves doing that. Like Maggie, for instance. She loves spreadsheets. She's like a spreadsheet nerd. I can't stand looking at spreadsheets. It makes my head dizzy. It like pains me to look at spreadsheets. I hate it. She loves it. So if I want something done on a spreadsheet, I'm like, Maggie, and she's just like in seventh heaven, right? One time I thought I was going to do my own gardening. This is when I lived in Texas because I wanted to get one of those tractors that I could ride around on and mow my lawn, right? Cut the greens. I went out there for a half hour. Absolutely hated it. Gave up on that idea quick. We have a gardener who comes to our yard today, and he is singing. He is doing opera. He loves it. You go out there and talk to him about this plant or the rest, and the guy will give you a seminar on this particular flower and what to do going forward in this season and the rest of it. He absolutely loves it. And I asked him, what do you love about this? I get to be outside with the birds and the plants and the sunshine. What could be better than this? And I'm thinking, God, this looks awful. You have to understand, see, somebody loves everything. And even though you're like, oh my God, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Who would want to do this? I'm telling you, somebody loves to do that. And that's your goal as a leader. Find people who play at the things you find work. We just hired Nate. He's now our director of marketing. This guy loves analytics. This guy loves doing research. He loves fiddling with the funnel. He like gets all geeked out about it. He comes in with a big smile and it's like hurts my head. I'm like, dude, just put on the cape and fly. Just give me the result, right? Turn labor into leadership. That's the goal. So you want a formula for delegating? Here's what you delegate. Delegate everything unless, number one, you enjoy doing it and it's part of your rest and relaxation. Okay, if you love washing your car or doing the gardening and that's where you find your replenishment to your soul, fine. You don't have to give that up. Number two, it's part of your core values to continue doing that task. It's meaningful work for you. If cooking dinner for your family is part of your core values, fine. Number three, it costs you more per hour to outsource it than you could make yourself. Okay? Outside of that, delegate everything. Do less and lead more. See, the people in this room, you're the heroes. You're the rainmakers. So we need you doing as little as possible and leading a lot more. That's how you get exponential returns on your life force, finding leverage. And delegate before you're ready. Here's the thing, you'll never be ready. For those who are perfectionists, for those that have a problem delegating, you'll never be ready. And that'll be your excuse. Oh, I'm not ready to delegate yet. I have to organize it, I have to get it prepared, I have to figure out what I really want. Just do it before you're ready. There's so many outsourcing tools, communities, and fantastic virtual assistants all over the world. Just start feeding stuff. You will create opportunities for you to continue to outsource more and more. So do it before you're ready. That's one key tip. The last D of the 3D plan is to double down on where you have leverage. Once you have deleted most of that curve, delegated a significant chunk, then I want you to double down in that 20%, because that'll get you that 16x ROI. Now, if you are more courageous, you will take that further, and you will double down on fewer activities to give you that 250x ROI. And if you do what Joel Osteen has done, Buffett, Gates, Jobs, anybody else that you admire getting tremendous results, you will go even further, and you will double down on that one thing that makes the biggest impact to your overall organization. So I get asked, what do they do different than the rest of you? This is the formula. No matter where you're starting right now, they all started where you're starting right now. Every one of them. Richard Branson came from a lower middle class family, left high school, first business failed. All these incredible people started where you started. So here's the formula, here's the trajectory, here's the journey, okay? They might have started over here as well. Deleting, delegating, and focusing on that 20%. And then once they got a handle on that, then they progressed to here, where they started delegating more. And then once they got a handle on that, then they got it to here, where they're focusing on fewer and fewer, mastering more, and gaining more and more leverage. That's it. That's the equation right there. You came here today, you paid the money, you got on the planes to see that this is the path to your epic journey, right here. Howard Schultz, you know how much he makes per hour? $9,659 an hour. Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks, he grew up in the Bronx, in projects, in government subsidized housing. He had nothing on you. How did he earn so much money? This is it right here. That's it. That's all he did. The average American makes $25 an hour. Howard Schultz makes 386 times that. Is that unfair? He came from the Bronx. Government subsidized housing. This is all he did, different than the average American. Bill Gates makes $11 billion per year, still to this day, or $1.3 million per hour. Does he work 54,000 times harder than everybody else? Impossible. This is what he did. And you can too. This is available to every one of you in this room. That path, that trajectory is available to everybody in this room if you find your vital function. So here's where we are in the vital function category. Here's your goal. Do fewer things. That's number one. Number two, more often. And number three, and get better at them. That's it. Remember when I told you the centenarian said there are few simple truths that operate complex systems? So said also by Stephen Hawking. This is it. Those are those few principles that manage complex systems.
Okay, this is a really, really important module. So we're going to spend a little time here getting clarity on a couple of key points here. One, how do you identify your few vital functions and one highest impact activity, and how to delegate. Those two concepts go hand in hand and are the epicenter of what it is that it's going to take for you to leverage your superpowers and gain the leverage that you need to multiply your results and live the life that you are meant to live. We have all heard and we know the adage of the fact that time is money, right? Well, the inverse is also true. Money is also time. In fact, the understanding of this reverse truth is one of the best realizations you can have when it comes to time and money. You see, the only thing you have in life is time. From the moment you take your first breath at birth, the clock starts ticking. The sands of the hourglass start to fall. The fuse of your life is lit and starts to burn down. You landed on a spinning orb that is whipping around the sun at a rate of 16,000 miles an hour. The countdown of the number of sunrises and sunsets afforded to you started ticking off. All you have between birth and death is that little dash on your tombstone that represents the time in between those two dates. Now, once you leave the bosom and nest of your mother and father, you quickly realize that you need to support yourself with food, clothes, shelter, and the like. These things require what? Yeah, money. So to get it, you start trading some of your precious commodity, time, for the money that you need. Here is where the tragedy lies for most people. They don't graduate beyond the stage. They spend most of their valuable product, the time of their life, simply trading it for money. And it becomes a never-ending treadmill of spending their time to gain money so that they can sustain themselves longer to spend more time for the money that they need. And we wonder why people are stressed out, unfulfilled, and not having the time of their lives. Here is what wise people do instead. They learn the knowledge and skills to become better traders. The money that they earn for their time, they invest and have their money make more money, a surplus. This will allow them to eventually gain time freedom. Wise people seek leverage of their time, meaning they look for ways to earn money not directly tied to their time. This involves building a business where you earn money on other people's time and effort, or you spend a finite amount of your time building products or services that can then be resold over and over with no additional investment of your time. This is what's called an RROT, or recurring rate on time. Now, here's the most overlooked time-money relationship: wisely spending your money to buy back your time. Ask the wealthiest person on the planet at the end of their life the one thing they wish they could buy. Their answer will always be time. At the end of your life, that is the one thing money can't buy. But along the way, it can. Let me give you an example of the greatest secret of the rich and how to buy more time. This is where I see most people not being able to get off the treadmill. They spend their valuable time doing low-wage work, thus not being able to prudently spend their time on activities that increase their income. Filing, database entry, organization, research, meeting preparation, common correspondence, bills processing, website maintenance, social media, etc. All these are activities that are either not your highest or best used tasks, or that can be delegated at a much lower rate. Now with your increased efficiency and increased income, you can invest some of that time margin into buying back some time. Cleaning your house, mowing your lawn, washing your car, changing your oil, planning your vacation, and many other functions can be hired out so that you can use your precious commodity time doing things that bring you richer, fuller, and more joyous experiences, certainly more joyous than scrubbing your toilets. So not only do you trade your time to get money, but to be an even wiser trader, trade your money to get more time. Does that make sense? I hope, as it's the key to having you make more money, spend less time, and getting more from the precious little time that we have on this planet. The ability to wisely and effectively delegate is the skill given little training, and yet is one of the most crucial to a leader's success. Whether you are a manager at work, owner of your own business, officer in the military, or simply working on a school project, effective delegation is one of the keys to achieving your goals. Andrew Carnegie, as you know, is one of the richest men in the history of the world. What did he do? How did he do it? Was he privileged? Did he have resources going into it, support, assistance from others that others did not have? Certainly not. He was born in Scotland and immigrated to the United States with his very poor parents. He started out working as a lowly telegrapher and then worked his way up to be what he's worth, what was the equivalent in today's dollars, over $400 billion. Makes Bill Gates' $84 billion seem quite paltry by comparison, right? So how? Well, he certainly knew how to hustle to get what he wanted, but he also was a man who enjoyed life. The keystone to his great fortune was that he was a master delegator. This is what Andrew said to a friend who told him that he got to work at 7 in the morning. Andrew said, well, you must be a lazy man if it takes you 10 hours to do a day's work. Instead, Andrew explained, what I do is I get good men and I never give them orders. My directions don't go beyond suggestions. Here in the morning, I get the reports from them. Within an hour, I have disposed of everything, sent out all my suggestions, and the day's work is done. Now I am ready to go out and enjoy myself. There it is. I hope you didn't miss it. There is tons of wisdom wrapped up right there in that formula. Let me reiterate it point for point. 1, he gets good people. That point cannot be overstated. 95% of success is selection. Learning how to find, identify, recruit, and draw the best out of A-player talent. This is a big part of what I detail in our high-performance forums I give for business leaders. This is such a critical aspect for building, scaling, and sustaining high growth and high performance and high impact enterprises that I lay out this system end to end, from designing the right and perfect role players in every position to the full recruiting, vetting, and hiring process. Then the onboarding, the training, the development, and the leadership of that top talent. This section alone within the forum has been a radical game changer for those who have been through the program. It is the best practices drawn from the highest performing organizations in the world. Exactly how they do it and how it works in a business like yours and mine. If you recruit and hire people, employees, or contractors, I highly recommend that you follow up this training with the High Performance Forum. Anyway, back to Carnegie's formula. 1, hire good people. The rest doesn't matter if you don't do that. If you do, the next thing he said is, I never give them orders. My directions do not go beyond suggestions. You see, when you hire really great people, you hired them for a reason, because they are expert at the role that you hired them for. Hopefully smarter, more experienced, and better than you at that role. If they are not, then you have the wrong people. If you are smarter than your CFO on a financial matter, you have the wrong CFO. If you have a better marketing idea than your marketing director, you have the wrong marketing director. If you can answer the phones with more warmth, enthusiasm, and graciousness than your receptionist, you have the wrong receptionist. Everybody around you should be better than you. And when they are, you don't have to give them orders. As Andrew said, you just give them suggestions and let them own, lead, and achieve what they are hired to do. Oh, and we're not done with Andrew's brilliant formula here. The last part of what he said was this: here in the morning, I get the reports from them. Within an hour, I've disposed of everything, sent out all my suggestions, and the day's work is done. I am ready to go out and enjoy myself. There are two key aspects of that. One, he inspects what he expects. He gets the reports, he spot checks it for what would be most important, and then he sends out his suggestions. And don't miss that last part. He said, the day's work is done, and I'm ready to go out and enjoy myself. Now, whether he hits the links or puts on his tennis garb, or goes out and finds enjoyment in tackling other business projects outside of what his leadership team was already involved with, that isn't the point. The point is he got out of their hair. He let them lead without meddling. In his philosophy, he was done anymore, and he would be getting in the way of leading his business correctly. So, find good people. Put them in a position to succeed. Make sure they have the resources that they need to win. Then inspect what you expect. Give them suggestions, not orders. Then get the heck out of their way and let them lead, or do what they have been delegated to do or assigned to do anymore, and you will become the constraint, the problem, the reason for a stall or for eventual failure. I take you through how to effectively delegate in the bonus module that I've prepared for you. It is such an important topic and a part of freeing you up to keep you on the right side of the leverage curve that I've invested in building a completely separate module to discuss it. But now we need to be sure that you have clarity on how to find and identify your vital functions, because once freed up, this is where you're going to apply your great superpowers. Now, there's a worksheet in your workbook that will take you through this, but I have learned that people still have questions about trying to identify their unique vital functions. First off, let me just say that usually that's kind of BS. Most of the time, they know exactly what they're paid to do, exactly what's most important for them to accomplish, and what makes the till ring, or what they do to make it rain, so to speak. But the thing is, probably hard. It might even be a little scary. So it's easier and more comforting to say, I just don't know what it is. So before I give you the other ways to figure it out, which will get you to the same endpoint anyway, just for a second, pretend that you did know. If you did know, what would it be? Right now, come up with an answer. Why are you on the payroll? What result are you paid for? What is the most important thing you can do to create that result? Name 3. You got it? 3. What was the first thing that came to your mind? Yeah, that thing, that scary thing. Look, if it were easy, you wouldn't be paid so much. Easy things don't pay well. And if it weren't scary, anyone would be up for doing it. Thus, you could hire someone cheaply to do it. So yes, usually your vital functions are the hardest and scariest things to do. Just remember, they are why you get paid the big bucks. Be glad that they're hard and scary. It makes them more valuable. Now, if for some reason you are still uncertain what your 3 vital functions are, a few more questions will vet them out for you. First off, project out in 3 years. What has to happen for your business, for your team, or your department to be successful? What are the goals that have to be achieved to be considered a success? Now ask yourself, what are the economic denominators to achieving those goals? What drives the economic outcome of your biggest goals? What are the few denominators that have the greatest impact on the economics? Let me explain this by the use of My Leading Success magazine. The big 3 goals consisted of a subscriber number, a revenue number, and a quality standard, building a trusted brand. Now, for a publication, typically what drives those numbers are, for subscribers, it's advertising and direct mail. For revenue, it's advertising sales. And for quality and trust, That had to do with the framework that I set for the brand at the beginning: the mission, the vision, the brand definition and promise, and the editorial standard and design and brand style guide that I created, and then of course the great people that you hire to execute it. But now let me give you the unique circumstances that I was under that is not typical for a publisher and editorial director. Thus, my vital functions were not typical of a publisher and editorial director role. Typically, the publisher would be overseeing circulation distribution, the subscriber direct marketing efforts, and the public relations department. Additionally, the publisher oversees the ad sales teams for advertising sales. On the editorial side, they sit in every editorial discussion, review every article at every stage of development, all the way through going to press. But in our situation, we had $0 for direct marketing and PR. We had very limited ad sales because we turned down 80% of everyone who wanted to advertise in Success, but due to our quality standards were rejected. And for that fact, we were also rebuilding a 3-time failed publication from a dead stop, and advertisers seek large, mature, and proven subscription audiences with years of MRI research and statistics as proof. So we had none of that. So what do you do? And this is where the lesson becomes really important for you. I backed up from the situation and I asked myself, what can I do? We have to grow subscribers, but have no money to do so. And we have to grow revenue, which for a publication is typically 99% on ad revenue, but have little capacity to do so. Then I asked myself, as you should, given my unique strengths, how can I affect the outcome we need? So I have learned over many ventures that the consistent superpower that I have is my ability to communicate and to enroll people into a vision, whether it is on stage, on paper, on television, radio, or online. So this is why keynote speaking at large company conferences and appearing on television and radio became my #1 vital function. This way I could enroll large numbers of people into our Success community and subscription at volume. And instead of spending money to get in front of these audiences, they actually paid me for the privilege. Even though I was highly paid as a speaker, I never spoke to be a speaker. I spoke to champion our cause and lead the mission and the financial objective that we had for the enterprise. Then the question of how do we make money if we aren't going to make it on advertising? This is why writing became the second vital function for me. Creating additional training and resources became an area of focus for me. The book, training courses, seminars, workshops, and the e-commerce resources in the Success Store became a critical revenue generator for the entire enterprise. Then the third vital function was interviewing and curating content. I found the most impactful part of our publication was that CD that was inside. That is where I knew I could affect the subscriber and reader experience the most. That is where I can connect most deeply and build a community of trust and stewardship. That is where I can stimulate referrals, pass along reach, and retention the most. I knew I had a gaggle of writers, editors, researchers, and designers to produce the other 88 pages of the magazine, and I sat in on the bigger planning and strategy meetings and did a cursory final approval check, but for the most part, I left all of that in the capable hands of the editor-in-chief. But what I kept complete control of end to end was that CD. Who was going to be on it, the questions that would be asked, and the final editing, packaging, and copy positioning. I knew that one element in 100 elements that had the most impact and biggest brand impression was going to be what happened on that CD. So that's the one that I focused on almost exclusively. So my 3 vital priorities as publisher and editor of Success Magazine and all of Success Media, which constituted not only the magazine, but the Success Store, Success Books, Success Speakers, Success Symposium, and other media properties was 1, speaking, 2, writing, and 3, interviewing. Those were the most vital functions that I could do to drive the economic outcome of our big 3 goals. If I was on stage or on media speaking, if I was creating or promoting owned content, or if I was interviewing a super achiever that would get packaged onto the CD that went into the magazine, then we were making money. So now, let me talk you through figuring out yours. Are you ready? Okay, first, let's start with the end. What are the 3 big goals of your business? Or if you are employed or work for a large organization, for your department. Now, I know I don't need to ask you what the mission and vision of your organization is, which is where we normally begin any prioritization strategy, and that is because I'm going to assume that your big 3 goals are already in alignment with your mission. So that is why we can jump right into your big 3 goals. So, you have your 3 goals in mind? Good. Okay, next. Now, what drives those goals? And here's where you might need to peel the onion back a little bit. If the answer is, say, revenue, then you have to ask yourself, from what? If the answer is sales from this and that, then you have to ask yourself, well, what drives those sales? Where do those sales come from? What avenues, what channels, what mediums, and from what type of client? Where and when? Now, what drives the result of that? At some point, you will find the economic denominator, those few denominators that has the greatest impact on the economics or the goal attainment down the line. Then once you have that, then you have to step back and ask yourself, what are your unique strengths to affect that economic denominator the most? How can you contribute the most to affecting those economic impact points? What is the most valuable thing that you can do to make it rain? Meaning deliver tangible and measurable results on those impact points. You remember the Joel Osteen example, right? The #1 economic factor for his business, let's call it, is donations. But you have to peel the onion further. He can't just go around and ask people for money all day like a panhandler. He has to ask what drives those donations. For him, it is engagement and reach. The more people that he can get into his church, and the more often he can get them coming back to his church, the more donations he'll get. So then, what affects them coming and what affects them coming back? That is when he discovered Eureka. It comes down to the quality of his sermon. He found that if those 22 minutes that he speaks on Sunday are funny, engaging, hopeful, inspiring, and impactful, then people gave more. They came back more often, and they brought their friends with them. He found that that was the one thing he could do to have the biggest impact on the overall success of his business. I mean, church. That is what is called his highest impact activity. He got so good at it, in fact, on that one thing that he was able to expand the church beyond its walls. What was the compact arena in Houston to the family rooms of some 20 to 40 million viewers in over 100 countries. Now he has revenue, donations, coming in from all over the world all day, every day to fuel his church's $70 million annual budget. And now get this, because he got so good at those 22 minutes, he had those 22 minutes repackaged into a dozen books and audio programs, which have sold tens of millions of copies. And all that revenue he keeps personally. This has afforded him the $10.5 million, 17,000 square foot home with 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 3 elevators, 5 fireplaces, and a guest and pool house, while still retaining his former home valued at $2.9 million. And you wonder why he is called the smiling preacher. You'd have a permanent smile on your face too if you had an estimated personal net worth of between $50 and $100 million. That is the kind of outcome you too can generate if you get clear about what is on the far right of your leverage curve. And you can then, once you discover it, double down on it. That is how you get that 4,000 times return on effort. An extraordinary result and lifestyle is possible for you too. But it requires that you do the work to identify what those few, or better yet, one, vital function is. Then delegate, diminish, or delete everything else. And then go for world-class mastery on that one highest impact activity. So now you can see why this module is so important. Maybe for your business, for your goals, for what you want to provide to your family and the lifestyle that you want to lead. Getting clear about what your vital functions are could be the most important thing that you do. This will be the key to discovering your greatest leverage points. And in that identity, all that is not your vital function, all that suppresses and distracts and deters you from doing and using the special gifts and abilities that you were designed to use on your heroic journey. Before we go, let me answer a couple of questions that you might have based on some of the questions that I've seen come into me from my Insane Board of Advisors, consisting of alumni who have been through the program before and have actively been implementing these strategies into their work and life. This one comes from Carlos German. Here's what he asked. Can vital functions change over time? He added, for instance, right now, my number one vital function is doing sales presentations, but over time, I can see myself delegating that role to someone else. The answer is yes, Carlos. As billionaire Ken Fisher explained to me that in the beginning, you might have to be doing everything. And then as you get cash flow going, you can start quitting more and more functions. So yes, as you grow, evolve, change, pivot, you will change what you have to do as your vital priority. You're always going to be reassessing what are your 3 most vital functions. For some, they will never change. For others, they will evolve. And for still others that are in rapid growth mode, from the beginning stages going upwardly, they will change frequently. The point is that your vital functions don't have to be fixed or rigid. Here's another question that came in from Flor Mazede. Let me read it to you. What if I have multiple businesses? Do I still only have 3 vital functions? No, you have 3 vital functions for each endeavor. If you are involved and contributing to multiple endeavors, then your role, your most valuable contribution, needs to be narrowed down to the 3 most vital functions you contribute to the success of that enterprise. I refer you back to the story of Dr. Oz. He had 3 vital functions in heart surgery, which are different than his 3 vital functions in producing a daytime television show, which are different from his 3 vital functions in running a nonprofit organization. All right, let's take one last question. And this one comes in from Daniel Vilsek. Hopefully I said that right. He said, I would like to know more about the connection between the highest impact activity and a person's strengths. He further explains, selling is without a doubt my highest impact activity, and I'm not aware of any other activity that I could do that would bring me a higher return on investment. I know that. I sell and I think that I'm kind of good at it. However, I don't consider myself to be an expert and I don't feel like it's my strength. I have to push myself to sell, while, for example, in customer service, there is no one who can beat me at it and it comes to me naturally. Okay. So here's the deal on this, Daniel. You don't have to like it. As Muhammad Ali said, I hated every early morning workout I ever had, but I loved being world champion. So no, you don't have to like it. And it doesn't even have to be in alignment per se with your strength. It's just the most vital function that you can uniquely contribute to the success of the enterprise or your goal. I know for a fact that Joel Osteen doesn't necessarily love to plan, prepare, and deliver his sermon. In the beginning, in fact, he told me he downright hated it. When he first took over from his father, he was terrified to do so. Even to this day, while he is much more comfortable and undoubtedly much better at it, I am sure that it's not his favorite thing in life to do. But it is still the most vital function that he can contribute to the success of his enterprise. I hope that distinction helps you. I remember something that Elon Musk said about starting a business and being a leader. He said, starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. The eating glass part is because you have to do a lot of things that you don't like. And the crappiest problems in the company, the ones that no one else can solve, end up on your desk. You don't get to work on the things that you want to work on. You have to work on the biggest problems facing the company. And that is the staring into the abyss part. You are always on the brink of death or of failing or of losing the company. While that is not the most inspiring realization of being in charge, it is also a sobering one. So no, Daniel, you don't have to like it, and it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned with what you think you are your greatest strengths. They just have to be the greatest strength that you can bring to that enterprise or what that goal needs from you. And look, the more you do that vital function, the more leverage that you get so that you can start replacing yourself in that function. Branson had to do a whole lot of stuff back in the day that he just doesn't have to do now because he leveraged the vital function of his business back then and now can make different choices. That's what leverage can buy. All right. As your assignment, I refer you back to the worksheet in the workbook titled My Vital Functions, Discovering and Mastering My Vital Impact. And for further explanation and further guidance, re-watch or re-listen to this explanation again. Once you feel that you have your few vital functions, run them by a few people. Those people who know your business, know your role, know your strengths, and know the goals that need to be achieved. See if they agree with your identification. What questions do they have? What clarification or focus needs to be added to dial it in a bit? The net result should be simple, clear, and certain. If you perform those three functions with excellence, then the enterprise or the department will win, or the goal will be achieved. I ask that you study the delegation module as well. In order to free you up to focus on your vital functions, you will need to learn the art and science of proper delegation. Plenty of people delegate, and it causes a disaster. That doesn't mean you shouldn't delegate. It just means that you suck at doing it. After that module, you shall suck no more. All right, let me tell you about what to expect in the module ahead. Now that we have helped you identify your vital function, the key role that you serve and contribute to making it rain in your business and for advancing your goals, we will now venture into the next success vital, which is your vital priorities. I'm going to share with you the shocking experience that I had with Richard Branson that entirely changed my understanding of priorities and focus. Oh, and I'm going to give you a little productivity idea that Charles M. Schwab gladly paid $400,000 for. In the next module, you'll get it for free. And it will be worth far more than $400,000 to you if you really use it. You have that to look forward to in Module 8 of your Insane Productivity Training System. Until then, I wish you an insanely great week.